Ladies and gentlemen, today I saw an article that says that three-quarters of Singaporeans wants to own a private property despite the financial hardship that it might bring. I think this is a very serious issue that we need to really address this in Singapore so that people get to know that there is an alternative, right? So let's watch on, shall we? So the title of my talk today is about three-quarters of Singaporeans wanting to own private property even though it could bring them financial hardship. Basically, I want to encourage everybody to think out of the box, that you can be very rich and you can be very successful without having this aspiration. Let's watch on, shall we? So this article came out today. Many aspire to eventually own private property despite money pressures. And there was a poll. This was a very long article. I'm happy to show you this article, but let me drill down and give you the gist of it. So first of all, 73% of respondents in this exercise that's done by ERA Singapore, it's a survey. Basically, they're eyeing between $1 million and $3 million dream house. Most of these are private property despite financial pressure. So this is a survey that was done by ERA Singapore, and this was done with Ngee Ann Polytechnic School of Design Environment. So if you ERA just did it by themselves, that maybe have some subjectivity because they may be biased. But this at least done with an academic institution. So I think there should be some objectiveness behind it. So it's a good survey. It covered 1,737 respondents. It ranges from 21 years old to 60 years old. And it was done over a period of about 1 to 2 months. And about 70% or 68% of the respondents have a household income below $12,000, which means that about 32% are above 12,000 household income. So cover a wide range, and I would say this is a very typical Singapore setting. Very good survey that's being done. So the first conclusion is that about 73% are eyeing a $1 to $3 million dream house despite financial pressure. So if you drill down further, there is a strong aspiration, but they face several challenges, including the high interest rates, property tax, inability to secure a larger loan, and ABSD, and so on. This aspiration is something that they really want, but they know it actually brings a huge financial burden to them. So they break up into several segments. Number one, for the younger generation, they are most likely going to start with a BTO or HDB resale flat. And then after they've done this, as their purchasing power increases, they will then aspire to rise up to own a private condo, budgeting between $1 to $2 million. Now, this trend is also relevant, prevalent among an older group, which then will be looking forward towards a condo that's between $1 to $3 million. This middle-aged group, wants it for a different reason largely. They want it largely for investment return and the capital appreciation that it brings. So this group in particular has benefited from past appreciation through previous market booms. This has reinforced their belief that properties are sound investment vehicles. And then the older group, that is 60 and above, has a slightly different reason why they want private property. They want to move from a larger home to a smaller home, basically downsizing, in the process unlocking wealth from it. So these are the group of people that already own bigger houses. They now want to sell it, realize some material wealth from it, and then from there, prepare for their retirement and things like that. So this one, they mainly want properties for wealth preservation. So these are the different group of segment of people. They want properties for different reasons. I think the key thing I want to address is that the majority of the people, especially the younger ones, despite financial hurdles that the potential buyers might face, the majority are ready to spend on securing their ideal living space, highlighting the importance of home ownership as a cherished goal for many in Singapore. I think home ownership is actually very good. It's about stretching yourself in the process of having a private property. That's the one that I really want to address. So actually, why this fanaticism over private property, right? So as we drill into the reason, there are largely two reasons, and I want to address these two reasons. And this is not a property bashing time. there is a issue I'd like to address about our society norms, and I want to dispel this myth that property, has this halo effect. So the two reasons why private property is highly sought after is mainly because of two reasons: social status and investment returns. So in a survey done by Today about 1 year ago, about 80% of the youth means young adults as well, about 80% aspire to own private house as a life goal. And the expert says that financial realities may have to will temper their expectation. So, sociologists told Today that the desirability of private housing among youths is not surprising because, among other things, it is seen as a signal of upward social mobility, a common aspiration among Singapore in general. Actually, I actually didn't exactly know what is social mobility, and I have to Google it. Then I realized it's all about social status. Okay, social status. It means this one, face. Okay, face, right? Social status, how I stand relative to others, how I stand in the society, and so on. And home ownership is very important among young Singaporeans. And in a lifetime, about 78% strongly agree that they really want to own a private house. Let me give you some insights they have discovered, shall we? Number one is this: many rich Singaporeans are staying in HDB right now. So let's stop stereotyping that HDB is for the poor and condo or landed property are for the rich. This stereotype might be true in the past, but increasingly that's quite different right now from what I see. Interestingly, I stay in HDB and there are many BMWs, Mercedes, and even one or two Porsches in my HDB car park. And I'm not even staying in a high-end estate like Bishan or Toa Payoh or some of these places, right? I'm just staying in Jurong East. And I really see so many BMWs and Mercedes right now. Okay, so actually I can say for sure that many rich are staying in HDB right now. And this news article came out some time ago that there are many CEOs who choose to stay in HDB flats. And why are they doing so? So I give you a few examples. Right? Mr. Abel Ang, Chief Executive of Advanced Tech, said to be the largest medical device company in Southeast Asia. Okay, and he stay in a HDB flat. I'm sure he can well afford if his company is one of the largest medical device company in Southeast Asia. And he stayed in an HDB flat and travel by public transport. So he's even more frugal than I do, because most of the time I drive my car. Okay, not that it's a big car, but drive my car. So there are CEOs and well-to-do people, successful people that stay in HDB flats, and this is becoming more and more the norm. This article came out quite a few years ago. This is Chris Tan, our beloved Chris Tan from Provident. Sorry, at that point in time, he was 49 years old. These are CEOs that choose to stay in HDB flat, and there are quite a few of them, I did an interview with Chris Tan recently, and he related his story about his downgrade from condo that he stayed for 10 years and he moved to HDB. But in the end, it was all worth it. Okay, so I think you should go and watch the video if you haven't watched it. There are quite a few well-to-do, successful Singaporeans that are now staying in HDB. So let's stop stereotyping that HDB dwellers are generally poor or not as well-to-do and or not as successful as those people in a condo. For those people who want some detail, I think Chris Tan ever said before, he co-founded Provident. I don't know how many percent of a company does he own now, but Provident was being offered a price tag of 40 million. If Chris Tan just owned 10%, that he will be a $4 million. But I'm pretty sure, this is my wild guess, okay, he at least will own a lot more than that, right? If he owns one third of a company, that's easily about 12 or 13 million dollars, okay? And he stays in a HDB flat, right? Stays in a HDB flat. And I think this is something very important for everybody to know. This is something very important for everybody to know. A few years ago, I also interviewed, and this title came out, The Multi-Millionaire Who Rather Stay in a Jurong East HDB Flat. This article came out so strongly, and the traffic that landed on this article was so strong, I think it crashed the server for a little while. Everybody was shocked that if you can be a multi-millionaire, why would you want to stay in a HDB flat? Well, this is me. At that point in time, I look a bit different, but this was me. Okay, this was me. People ask me, why do you want to stay HDB flat? HDB flats are for people who have a lower class. I'm sure you want to aspire to stay in to move up the social ladder and things like that. Frankly speaking, I just want to tell you, I couldn't care less if anybody think less of me. Right? Yeah. I don't think my self-confidence is founded in what I say and what people think of me. I want to say something very provocative and that may anger quite a lot of people. I know for sure there are many poor people that stay in condo right now. But how can that be, right? Condo is millions of dollars and things like that. Well, many people wrote to me and they are in financial trouble because they overstretch themselves by buying a condominium and they're very unhappy, but they're being caught right now. They can't sell the condo, they can't downgrade themselves to move into HDB flats, but they are very stretchy right now financially in their cash flow because they stay in private housing and condominiums and things like that. So I can say for sure because they write to me, a lot of them, right, asking me what to do, right? My answer is very simple, right? Okay, why don't you just I use the words of Chris Tan. Why don't you declutter your life, right? Just move to HDB flat. They can't. Right? People think less of them. The wife will be unhappy. The children will be unhappy. Their colleagues will think very little of them. There are people wondering whether they are in financial trouble and things like that, right? So I'll just say this categorically. If you have tasted Haagen-Dazs ice cream and you have been eating publicly Haagen-Dazs ice cream, the minute you eat a Magnolia ice cream, number one, it tastes different. Number two, people will start wondering, why are you eating Magnolia ice cream? Okay. So really, between looking rich and being rich, which one do you want? Between looking rich and being rich, which one do you want? For me, it's very clear. By moving up this path of climbing, property ladders and things like that, it's very difficult for me to move back and my children to move back. So all the while I've been staying in HDB, I'm very happy about it, right? I don't see why we need to stereotype that staying in condominium or private housing means you're of an upper class and you're staying in HDB means you're of a lower class. We need to get that thinking away. This is a very terrible public perception that we need to correct in Singapore. That said, I'm really not against you owning a private property, right? But I will just say this, own a private property if it brings you joy without stretching yourself financially. I think owning a private property is very good for asset diversification. If you own some money, put some money into CPF, some money into stocks, some money in bonds, some money in property, and also I think it's very okay. And that objective can also be attained if you own a HDB as well. But the problem is that many people overstretch themselves by trying to reach a higher social ladder, okay, by thinking that private property is a sure win in investment. On this note of investment, I think everybody needs to stop thinking that private property is the only and sure way to financial freedom. I think it's clear by everybody right now that when you own a private property, you generally have to take a loan and generally have to take a huge loan. And by doing so, it comes with a high cost of debt servicing. And it's not a very nice feeling when you have a lot of debts, okay? And it also limits your career mobility, right? Something goes wrong in your career, you find it very difficult to move around, and you cannot, if your boss is not very happy with you, you have no choice, just gotta suck it up, because you are slave to your own house, right? But if you are of HDB, it's easier to pay up the house and you just throw the letter and just move to another job. You can just throw the letter and move to another job. Even the job pays a slightly lower pay, it's okay, right? You don't have a huge financial loan. Why burden yourself with such a heavy financial loan, okay, thinking that this is the only way? There are many ways and many paths that leads to Rome. Okay, I've demonstrated now, by example that certainly stocks can bring you a hell of money. I don't think anybody will think anything less that my stocks portfolio is anything less than property. Then other paths can lead you to there as well. CPF is a very, very nice path to financial freedom. T-bills also give you very healthy returns for a long time and things like that. Entrepreneurship is one of them, career progression. There are lots of paths there as well. But why pick the one that makes your life more difficult, right? Why pick the one that makes your life more stressful? I think that this is a stereotype that we need to dispel in Singapore. Number one, is a wrong stereotype to think that owning a condo and other private property means you are of a higher class, right? Second is that it's also similarly wrong to think that if you own a HDB, your social class is anything less. So I think we need to move beyond material wealth and properties as a symbol of our personal self-worth. The second thing I want to say is that there are many paths that leads to financial freedom. Why pick the one that gives you the most stress? Okay. So I hope that you can put food for thought for this. Okay. I want to challenge this norm, and I hope to see you in a day or two. Thank you and goodbye.